Hey, Daily Dosers. My name's Austin Payne. I'm one of the pastors on the Vista campus, and I have a 2-year-old at home. And recently, my 2-year-old, I'm driving in the car. I'm in a kind of a tight space in a parking lot, and my daughter from the back seat says "oh" and a 4-letter word that starts with S. And I was shocked. This was the first for me as a parent. My child just cursed from the back seat, and really, there's kind of two options at this point of like how I move forward. Like, option one is like I address the problem immediately. So it was everything in me not to laugh. Okay, now call me a terrible person, right? Like I'm not suggesting that that's like funny behavior, but when a 2-year-old says that from the backseat of a truck, it was funny, but it was everything I had to not laugh because why? That reaffirms her behavior, yada yada yada. And so I in the moment go, hey Piper, we don't say that in this family. But my mind in that moment, I go, okay, I have two options here. Either one, I address the problem, or I go to the root of the problem. Right? Where have you heard this before? Who's saying it? Is this at preschool? Is it? Are my wife and I listening to music at home that has these words? Or when we're watching TV, is this word said? And so my mind is racing as a parent, going, okay, I can either every time this happens go, hey, we don't do that. Hey, we don't do that. Hey, we don't do that. Or I go, hey, we need to take a step back here. And this whole week we've been talking about forgiveness, and today I want to talk about the root of the problem here, or really the benefit for us of when we forgive. How does that adjust the roots for us when it comes to our relationship with God? What is the power of forgiveness and what does it do for us? And so this is kind of a random passage in the middle of Jeremiah, but it's one of my favorites. And it says this in Jeremiah 17. It says, "This is what the Lord says. Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who draws strength from mere flesh, and whose heart turns away from the Lord. That person will be like a bush in the wastelands. They will not see prosperity when it comes. They will dwell in parched places in the desert and a salt land where no one lives." Person number one, if you trust in man, this is what you're like. There's a description of this bush in a wasteland. And then it says this, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought, and it never fails to bear fruit." Now, what does this have to do with forgiveness? And here's what I'm suggesting. I believe when we withhold forgiveness, when we are unwilling to forgive, for me personally, when I really don't want to forgive somebody, I really believe that it ultimately stems from this lack of trust in God. I don't remember the forgiveness that I have been extended because I don't think I'm really that bad of a person and I don't think God is that great. And I go, well, how much was I really forgiven of? You don't understand what this person has done. And so it's a lack of trust in God. And also I think it's a lack of trust in God that he ultimately is going to enact justice. That if I withhold forgiveness, I deserve to withhold forgiveness because of what happened to me or what went down. And it's a lack of trust in him that he ultimately is sovereign. He ultimately is in control, and he understands if I forgive this person, justice lies in his hands. This is why Jesus went to the cross, and this is why one day we will all stand in front of a judge who is just, who is perfectly just. And so I believe the power of forgiveness allows me to trust in God. Number one, through the lens of remembering how much I've been forgiven. And number two, trusting ultimately that he is just, that he is perfectly just. And why do I need to trust? The Bible gives us such a beautiful picture of two people. Cursed is the one who trusts in man. When I trust in myself, when I trust in my ability to divvy out forgiveness or withhold forgiveness, it says like I'm like a bush in a wasteland. Maybe I get a scarce rain and I bear a little bit of fruit, and today is good, but tomorrow I don't know. Right? The inconsistency of that will drive anybody mad. And yet the beauty, the power of forgiveness, the power of trusting God says, I'm like a tree who spreads out its deep roots by the river, and it doesn't fear the year of drought. If things are going horribly and you feel like everybody around you is asking you for forgiveness, and you're like, what is happening? We can ultimately trust God that one, I've been forgiven in a crazy amount, an insurpassable amount that I can never wrap my head around. And number two, I trust him that he's perfectly just. If I can trust those two things, I sit today in the freedom of being able to forgive the people around me. And I'll end with this. Maybe it's tired. Maybe you've heard it a million times, but maybe you've never heard it before, of just the age-old saying of withholding forgiveness is like me drinking poison, expecting somebody else to die. There's a freedom in being able to let go and just go, God, I trust you. And because I trust you, I know I've been forgiven much, and you are perfectly just. Thanks, Dosers. We'll see you tomorrow.